got nerves of stone, but we're scared to bones. Horror movies.
Punk rock horror podcast. Take me home,
West Virginia. That one's gonna probably hurt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to turn that down in editing.
Yeah, my bad. I got a little carried away there.
It's that West Virginia part.
Dude, every time I hear that song, I just fucking see that crow. Where it's just like, I hate country music. Country Road starts playing. West Virginia!
Actually, I'm not gonna lie. I don't like that song. I'm not a big fan of it.
It's the only real John Denver song I like. Mostly because that was like my favorite part of Kingsman Golden Circle.
Oh yeah, okay.
Where the dude's singing it in the forest, like when he's standing on the mine.
Oh yeah, but that was such a good scene, though.
I know, it was so great. It's just funny though, because like not even 10 minutes before that entire thing happened, like he's questioning one of the main guys. He's like, "Who's my favorite artist?" And he's like, "How the fuck should I know?" John Denver. Like, he's so buttered about it.
Oh man, those movies are so underappreciated.
I know. I'm actually really sad. Well, I'm excited that they're doing a prequel for the third one since the kid didn't sign on to do the next one.
Yeah.
Which I'm sad that he's leaving it because those movies are great. Even though
they're good movies.
Even though I will argue, I don't think spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie, that Agent Whiskey.
Yeah.
I really don't think he should have died.
Oh yeah.
That was like, I don't know why. I kind of like.
No, I feel you.
It was it was just kind of a sour scene, like especially how gruesome he died and everything. I was just like, because he had a legit reason for like, he lost his wife and everything, and they're kind of like trying like, they had a couple scenes where they're trying to make him look like some piece of shit douchebag asshole, and I'm like, but he's not though. Like you like him throughout the whole movie, and like.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, same with the antagonist in the first one though. Like,
I actually haven't seen the first one. I've only seen the second one.
Well, then the antagonist in the first one's similar, but with a different set of motivations.
Yeah, but other than that, like I really, really like the second one.
Yeah, no, I do like the first one a little more, but I think the second one was a solid follow-up.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Oh, yeah, and it's actually really hard to get, like, super solid follow-ups to those kind of movies.
Right. But you need to watch the first one just for the whole church fight scene.
Yeah.
That whole scene is so fucking dope. Like, because it's Colin Firth, I think, is the actor's name, right?
I think so.
Yeah, oh, man, he just fucking, John Wick, eat your heart out. Like, goddamn, that dude's fucking badass. Like,
yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest reasons that people didn't like the second one as much is that Channing Tatum was, like, really, like, thrown on as, like, the new poster boy for it. Like, the second Styles poster
Oh, yeah,
boy.
and he didn't even have, like, a big part.
Yeah, he wasn't in it very much. And I didn't mind that. I was just kind of like... Because, honestly, I really do think that Channing Tatum is a lot better when, like... Yeah. He's kind of, like, side character.
Right.
Like, nothing against him. I actually really do enjoy... quite a bit of Channing Tatum's movies. I actually think that he's a better actor than people give him credit for.
Yeah, I think because he comes off as a pretty face.
Yeah.
And so I think he like has kind of gotten the stigma of like, and maybe he's fine with it, but like he's got the stigma of like, oh, I have to take my shirt off because it's like, it's the same reason for like Jason Momoa. Like the only reason like a lot of women want to see his fucking movies is just to see him with his shirt off, which. Side note, I will bring this back into men can be just as sexualized as women. It's a whole entirely different argument, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, Jason Momoa.
Yeah, fucking.
I mean, once Aquaman came out, or no, Justice League. When Justice League came out, you know how many memes I saw of like, I'm just going to leave this picture of Jason Momoa walking shirtless through water here for you ladies.
I just get so annoyed by that when you have... Because I've seen posts from women who on my Facebook who are just like oh, women are over sexualized and we just want it for our bodies, and then the same woman, as soon as like a Jason Momoa like movie is coming out, well, or I even say is coming out, like when Aquaman was coming out, posted pictures of like, I know what I'm going to go into Aquaman for, and I'm like, Like, that's literally... Like, you're getting mad at guys because they're checking out women for their features, but it's okay for you to got over Jason Momoa? Like, it's a hypocritical standpoint. You get what I mean?
I get what you mean, but I'm also kind of one of those, like, who was it? Ryan Reynolds, I think? No, it was Chris Pratt who said it. He's like, do it. Sexualize us. I don't care. I'm kind of at that, too. Like,
no, I know. And, like, I'm not saying, like, men can't be sexualized.
No, I know what you mean, but you're like, it's hard. You can't really use that argument if you're going to do the same thing.
Yeah, you can't use women shouldn't be sexualized if you're going to sexualize men. Now, I understand the whole, like, thing you can say is, like, well, men are more okay with it than women, but, again, even if Chris Pratt says it's okay, doesn't mean it's going to be okay with every dude. Just as if, like, for example, if Blake Lively said it was okay, doesn't mean it's going to be okay for every woman. Yeah. I don't know. But that's not what I hate this week. So we're going to...
yeah.
Wait.
So, what do you love and what do you hate, Matt?
So, the thing that I hate is... So, and you've talked about it before, but now I hate it just as much as you hate it. But is the trailer for Happy Death Day 2.
I hate that movie.
Happy Death Day to you. So I talked to you a little bit about it, like, and tried to get more of your input about it, and I understand where you're coming from because I guess like Happy Death Day comes off in a trailer. It looks more like a creepy, kind of dark, humorous movie, but
it kind of looks like it was going to be Scream, where like it was going to have somewhat of a light tone just because of the baby mask for the killer,
right?
But at the same time, it was going to have those dark undertones to it.
Yeah.
No!
It ended up being like Mean Girls or something.
Yeah, basically. It was just...
You had a good comparison. I just can't remember what it was. Excuse me.
I can't remember either. It was just... Like I said, it was just one of those things where it's like... I went in expecting something totally different, and I was really let down.
Right. So, anyways, coming back to Happy Death Day to you, aside from the fact that they don't really need a sequel, and it is totally just like them milking the cow... at this point.
Yeah, it would have made more sense just to leave it at
What makes me so goddamn pissed off is that I haven't seen Happy Death Day, but in the trailer for Happy Death Day to You, they actually spoil the ending of Happy Death Day.
Yep.
And that fucking pisses me off. And I'm gonna and here's why. The reason it makes me so goddamn mad is for two reasons. One, it's basically making it so you don't have to watch the first one at all. There's no reason to invest in it. So even if you wanted to watch Happy Death Day, once you see the trailer for Happy Death Day to You, it gives it makes it so you don't want to watch the first one because it tells you the twist ending within the trailer.
It does, straight up.
And then what makes me more mad is that this is kind of a slap in the face to everyone who liked Happy Death Day and who wanted to see Happy Death Day, because it's basically saying, hey, there's no reason to see Happy Death Day because we know you're going to pay for the same movie again in a sequel with a similar, almost exact same plot line. So we're just going to ruin the first one for you to get you to see Happy Death Day again, but instead we're going to call it Happy Death Day to You. And that's how I'm taking the trailer. It's just a big kind of slap to the fucking face. And it's making me mad because I feel like, and I'm trying to like still be unbiased and wait like until the movie comes out and like actually watch it. But it just feels like it's kind of like a taint on horror right now because now I really do see where you're coming from, where they're just like, where your statement where you made like they're making a B movie just to make a B movie. Like, I now get what you're saying, because this definitely feels like, oh well, there's money in the horror genre. Let's just make a horror movie that the horror fans will probably like. Now
it's more what I was saying was more of like they're trying to make a point of making a cult classic. They're like, this isn't going to appease everybody. We're strictly making this only for a specific audience, so that way they can be like, oh well, you just didn't get it, blah blah blah. This is a cult movie, and I'm just like, because I noticed that too with like video games and movies where they're like, this is a future cult hit. Right. And it's like, how do you know that? Because you don't. Because that was the thing about cult hit movies like Fight Club and Boondock Saints and stuff like that, was that like it became a cult hit because nobody liked it except for this small niche, and they just kept and they went with it.
Yeah, well, and that's my thing though, is that this trailer, and again, I'm only going off the trailer, so maybe the whole movie will be different. Maybe it'll be actually like a mind-blowing thing, and we're like all our expectations get blown out of the water, and I'm completely wrong for being mad, and and whatever. But it just feels like such a slap to the face for the horror genre and for people who really liked the first film. I don't know. To any of our girls and gals who are listening, did you see the first one? Have you seen the trailer for the second one? What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think it feels like a slap in the face? Am I not looking at this from the right perspective? Are we not looking at this the right way? Let me know. Reach out to us on Twitter. At official PRHP. But the thing I love though is over the break, we got a package from an author that we are actually going to be bringing onto the podcast here in the near future. Her name is Jill Girardi. She just came out with her first book in a series called Hantu Macabre. And, we reached out to her on Twitter and we're like, hey, this sounds like a really cool book. We'd like to bring it on sometime. And she was really nice and was like, hey, how about I just send you a copy of my book? So she sent us not only 2 copies of her books, but she sent us this care package of death metal, hardcore music and CDs and band stuff. And it was and the bands are from Cropsy, Maniac, and I gotta look up the other one really quick.
Cropsy is following us on Instagram.
Yeah, thank you, Cropsy. Oh, yeah. Sweet, Cropsy. Yay, Cropsy. Sorry, I gotta look up, because I can't believe I'm forgetting the other band. I feel so bad right now. Give me just a second, everyone. I apologize. Unless you know the name of the band. Do you know the name of the band?
No, but I might have the CD over here.
Okay, Cody's grabbing the CD. But anyways...
I said I might.
He might have the CD, but regardless, she sent us this care package, and it's just... really dope. Fondle Corpse. That's it. Fondle Corpse. Yeah, that's it. Cropsy Maniac and Fondle Corpse. And, it was just a really, kind and humbling thing because we were just expecting to get copies of her book to read. And instead we got not just that, but, all these death metal CDs. And, what's cool about Cropsy Maniac is that they're inspired by, horror movies. They even, some of their songs are titled, I Spit on Your Grave and Last House on the Left. So
I would say probably 90% of their songs on there is after horror movies.
Yeah, and I would say Fondle Corpse seems more like cosmic death metal, and maybe that's wrong. But either way, they're both fucking badass. And so Cropsy Maniac, Fondle Corpse, if you're listening, you guys are badass. We're gonna have to bring you on here sometime soon as well.
Yeah, I've been listening. I've had the Cropsy Maniac, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I don't know why I had a brain fart right there. But okay. I've been I have their album in my car, and I've just been listening to that for a while now.
I like their song "I Want to Make You Break." That one,
I like Jigsaw.
Jigsaw's also a good one too. But thank you to Jill, if you're listening for the books. We're loving Hantu Macabre. It's really dope. It's a fun book. I mean, if you want to know more about the book, it's the story of this punk rock paranormal investigator who has her own paranormal investigation firm. And it just tells her story, and it's a really cool story. I don't want to give too much away because I want you listeners to not only tune into the episode when we bring her on for the podcast to talk about the book, but also I just want you to check out the book too. So check out Hantu Macabre by Jill Girardi. So yeah, I mean, but I love that. It was just such a nice little care package that she sent us, and it was so cool, and just yeah, I mean. I just love that. Cody, what do you love and hate?
Not quite. I totally forgot what I had to love.
Do we need to come back to you?
No. Maybe. Sure? Fuck, dude. I had it. Well, okay. So the thing that I hate, though, I'll go over that first.
Okay.
So I was talking about this at work with one of my coworkers, and because it became kind of a theme between all of us, but it's also just kind of a theme, for the end of 2018, even the beginning of 2019, is just this saying called that we started there is just take the L, man, which is take the loss.
Yeah.
Because there's just some issues coming up at work, and we're just fuck, man, just take the L. I had to take the L over Christmas and everything. Basically all last month with having to work so much, at my both jobs, having to just like figure things out. Even though like, we were trying to take a break from the podcast so we can relax, but like I ended up having to work so much, and I was just like, you know what? Whatever, man, I'll just take the L. Like, gotta do what I gotta do. And then I was also thinking about that, like, that also can really go to everything lately, like, especially, I know we try not to be political and stuff like, but especially with Donald Trump, man, just take the fucking L. We don't need the wall. Walls don't work. Like, we've talked about it a couple times, like, just little brief things, but in all reality, like, all right, like, as much as we love our listeners and stuff like that, if you are one of those people that truly support the wall, why? It's not going to fix anything, man. And, like, I actually read this article about walls and, like, the great walls in the world and stuff like that. And the only reason why the one in Jerusalem works is because it is patrolled 24/7. It has surveillances, like, every 10 feet or some shit like that. Like, some ridiculous number. It has surveillance cameras every ridiculous amount. It has armed guards 24/7 every, like, couple feet also. Like, it's a 24/7 gig. Yeah. You think with the economy how it is right now, we're going to be able to afford to pay the soldiers or whatever that? You think people are just going to volunteer for free to stand at the wall and be like, "No, you get over there." Like, don't get me wrong, there's probably a couple fucking stupid ass piece of shit racists that are like that. Like, just take the L, man. Like, we don't need the wall. And all that money that's going to that wall, you know where it could go to? Schools. You know what happened if you put it into schools? It'll fix all those issues because everyone wants a quick fix now. We can't do a quick fix now. There's no such thing as a quick fix now. You know what happens when you do the quick fix now? Things go to shit and then it breaks. Like, if we go put it into the schools, you know what's going to happen? We're going to raise our children to be smarter, and they're going to figure out issues around this. And then they're like, it's a war on drugs. No, it's not. There is no true war on drugs. Yeah. There will never be a real war on drugs, because we talked about this before. Like, not only is that post that came out that said we found all the tunnels and destroyed them all, like, blah blah blah. No, there's tunnels that are more than 90 yards deep. 90 yards deep underground that will dig into the place. Also, a lot of the drugs that we get also come from fucking Canada. Yeah. Also, one of the biggest drugs that are known here comes from China. Like, and shit, we'll make our own. People like drugs. They're going to find a way to do it.
You know how... does anyone remember from high school being taught about supply and demand? Like... Yeah. It's... You gotta look at it like this. Say we even get to the point where you can ban it completely from China, Canada, and Mexico, and everywhere else. And we stop it there. Then all it's going to happen is that we're still going to make it here.
We're going to make our own.
And it's just going to rise again.
We make our own meth. We make our own coke. We make, we make our own fucking drugs. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like...
And some of it's legal. Like, Tylenol is probably one of the most, notorious ones.
Caffeine is a drug. Adderall. Yeah, Adderall. Like, it's just one of those things, like, just take the L, man. We don't need the wall. We can use that money for a lot better things besides building a giant concrete piece of shit thing that's just going to be an eyesore. And then, so, like, that's just kind of what, like, one of the things I hate is the fact that when you really look at it, like, everything is just, like, just take the L, man. Like, I know it sucks. No one likes to lose, but just take the L. Yeah.
And then... I'm gonna add one last thing to yours. I also just kind of hate everyone who went and supported that GoFundMe, because I just think about all of the causes that they probably skipped past. There's probably causes in there for people who are trying to take care of medical bills with something serious that's happened in their family, or that are losing housing, or trying to make a fund to even go to college or something like that. And everybody probably passed that and was just like, oh no, this is going to the wall. The wall's what we need. Yeah. And that's just, that's just, everywhere else in the world, we're sorry our country's kind of dumb right now. We're trying to get there. And to be fair, not all of us are fucking stupid.
No. And and the sad part is, even some of the people that donated to the wall probably aren't really, they're probably intelligent people. Yeah. But they're, just blinded by, anger. Yeah. And stuff like that. And it's well, you're putting your anger into one of the worst things ever, because it's useless.
And I'm not going to be surprised that GoFundMe doesn't even go to the wall. It won't. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody was smart enough to scam all these people. But, I mean, maybe that won't happen. But if it does, fucking, what were you expecting? What do you think's gonna happen? They're gonna get all that money raised, go up to the fucking White House with a couple checks written in a jar and be like, make wall now!
And not only that, what happens if we do build the wall? In a couple years, it's going to get torn down. You know who's going to pay to tear it down?
Yeah.
Us again.
And even if you raise the money to pay for the wall, again, that goes back to like what you said, like how are they going to continue to fund the wall?
Just wall my favorite Lewis Black quote. When the wall first got introduced way back when, he was like, walls don't work. They haven't worked since they invented planes. That
and most immigrants that come to this state actually come on a work visa and just overstay.
Yeah. Like don't get me wrong. Like, I do have, like, you know, I was like I did get caught up in all the angry, like, oh, illegal immigrants, rah, rah, rah. And it's like, you know, they're not taking my jobs.
Well, and that's the other thing people don't look at this is that illegal immigrants are going to take your job. Well, the fact of the matter is that they haven't really been taking that many jobs. They've actually been doing jobs that regular Americans don't want to do. Probably one of the biggest ones is working on produce farms.
Yeah.
Like, for fuck's sake, they'll go. I can't remember. Like,
I mean,
Minute Maid. All the people. I'm tripping
what it all comes down to, it's just scare tactics.
Yeah, it's just
that's what it is, and it's like, you know, and when they like complain about that, it's like, you know, most of those businesses, they don't even use illegal immigrants. They actually use people still in their countries for like most of those jobs and stuff like that they're bitching about that's getting taken.
Well, and the problem with like setting up a wall, and the problem that we live with now is that there's a point where immigrants do actually want to go back to Mexico.
Yeah.
But they can't.
Now they can't. And it's like, and then all the shit with like those fucking internment camps and stuff. They're internment camps. Don't even fucking argue with us about that one. Like, those are internment camps. Like, the second we started taking kids away from their parents, and then like we can't even find their parents to give them back or anything, like, and trying, like, putting a 2-year-old in front of a fucking judge, like, no, like, we as a nation need to take the fucking L and realize that we kind of fucked up in that scenario.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. We're supposed to be like civilized, basic human beings, but no, whatever, no. So that's just like the thing that I hate. It's like, what it comes back to is like what we've been saying for such a long time. Just fucking be kind to each other, man. Like, whenever we bring up, like, you know, the hardcore, like, fandoms, and then we've even brought up racism a little bit and stuff like that. It's just like, come on, man. We're all fucking human beings. Like, there's no reason for these camps. There's no reason for the wall. It's just like, it's just, like, we seriously, like, need to, like, really look ourselves in the mirror and just be like, you know what, we should take this L and learn from it instead of repeating history.
If you listen closely, Cody, you can hear all the people calling us millennial crying libtards.
Oh, yeah, you know, because the generation before us and the generation before them decided to ruin our economy and made it totally impossible. Because, like, you know, what was it, like 30 years ago, you could go to college and then just, like, go to work full-time over the summer and still pay for college and stuff like that. And then once you got that college degree, you actually had a set job where you were able to afford a house and a family. But now you can have 2 bachelor degrees and a master's, and they're still like, well, you need work time experience. What the fuck did I just go to, like, thousands and thousands of dollars in debt for?
Right.
So,
all right, Cody, what's something you love?
Yeah. Happy.
Oh, the show Happy.
That's actually what I was. I actually brought it up to you before we started recording. Was like, so I really, really like that show.
That show's fucking great.
And so, like, if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. And if you like dark comedy,
well, it's a sci-fi original. But now the first season's on Netflix.
Yeah. And honestly, I know, like, oh man, sci-fi original, like, that draws up a lot of red flags. Because let's be honest.
Well, sci-fi original movie is different than the sci-fi original series because their series is stronger. Like,
like Z Nation
and Eureka.
Yeah, but like, so I watched it and then I found out it was based off a comic, and I just happened to find the graphic novel in Barnes and Noble, and so this also kind of ties in. Actually, this entire month, because I actually had some extra cash even after buying Christmas gifts and stuff, which was really nice. Because that never happens. Usually I'm like super dead broke in December because like, you know, like I bleed myself trying to get Christmas gifts and stuff. I actually ended up having a little extra cash, so I kind of binged on myself a little bit with comic books. And I picked up the Happy graphic novel and I read it. I think this is one of the few times where the show is a lot better than the comic.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, the comic's really good, and if you get a chance to read it, you should read it. It's fantastic, especially because, like, the dark humor in it is so good, and it's like it portrays really well, and it translates well from comic to show. But I like the show a lot better just because they were able to, like, go deeper into characters and stuff like that, because I wasn't expecting the comic to be so short.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, and, like, Mike Duplass does a really good job, too. As the main character, and Patton Oswalt's voice acting.
Dude, that was perfect. Yeah. Patton Oswalt was Happy, because I was reading the comic, and I was just hearing Patton Oswalt the entire time. I was like, he was perfect for Happy.
Oh, man.
But, like, it was just really good. And so that's, like, something I loved, was the fact that, like, I was able to enjoy both mediums. I didn't really have too much to, like, oh, they did this different, they did that different, but, like, at the same time, I was kind of happy that they... Pun intended. I was excited that, you know, the show took liberties with the comic, but still kept, like, the same basis around it.
Yeah.
Because, like, they fleshed out the bad guys so much more in the show, and it made, like, you really hated Blue in the show.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, in the comic, like, you hate Blue.
Yeah.
But it's not to the extent as you do in the show.
Well, the guy who plays him, too, like, he's
he's so good.
Like, the way he moves his mouth is...
Yeah,
like I don't know why.
And the way he smacks his lips and stuff like that.
I like how I did the mouth movement for people who are listening to the podcast.
Yeah,
just imagine very well extenuated mouth movements.
Yeah, but so yeah, that's something I love a little bit on a happy note. Pun intended again. So puns, I've got them. Woo.
So now we cleanse the palate.
But it's one thing. So I know it's kind of dumb, but seeing as how this is like the beginning of the year or things, did you have any New Year's resolutions?
No, I don't believe in that.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I kind of stopped doing New Year's resolutions, but I know I kind of thought of things that I actually need to work on, that I want to work on.
I just don't understand. I guess I never really understood the concept of a New Year's resolution.
The whole New Year, New You.
Well, but that's my thing, is why can't you just do that any other time of the year? Like, why does the ending of the year have to be your new slate? Why can't you just...
It's the same concept as, like, Valentine's Day, as, like, the date... Like, that's supposed to be the day that you really spoil your significant other, instead of just, like, you know, you feel like you just want to spoil them, and you just go ahead and do it. Like, you know, it's that
yeah,
kind of
but
concept.
that's different. That's you trying to be kind to someone else. The whole New Year's resolution is like you choosing to be kind to yourself, and I guess that's my thing. Is like, why do you, like, if you really want to make a difference, if you really want to make that change in your life, then just make that change. Don't say, hey, January 1st next year, that's when I'm going to go back to the gym.
But I also think it's one of those things where it's like, it's a good starting point, you know?
Well, I get what you're saying. Like, I'm not saying I don't understand where you're coming from, because the information that you're giving me makes a little more sense to it. I guess, like, it's just my thing is what is 12 months, why is 12 months different than, like, a 6-month span or a 3-month span? Like, you know, just, like, I guess if you want to make those small changes in your life, you should just make the small changes and just say, like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
You know, for my New Year's resolution. But then again, like I just said, I don't fully understand the concept of it. You know, maybe, you know, from what you're telling me, it makes a little more sense. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just why do you have to start going to the gym at the beginning of the year? Why can't you do it in, you know, the week that you're deciding to go back to the gym? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like, I guess, like, I just don't know what goes in someone's mind when they're like, it's the month of May. And they're just like, you know, starting next year, I'm going to go back to the gym. You know, because I'm like, well, then that's still like fucking, 5, 6, somewhat months that you're still going to, like, not make the right changes, and then by
that's still 5-6 months that I could pound down large pizzas by myself until the next year.
Yeah, but then by the time it comes around, then you're gonna have to work off that much more weight.
But new year, new you.
I don't know. I never understood. I don't know. Do you said you had some?
Not necessarily resolutions, just because I kind of gave up on that last year. like just saying that, just the things that I know I need to work on basically is like I need to work on eating better. I mean, that's always a day-to-day struggle for me, just with working 2 jobs, not having the time.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's, like, all the... Don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of arguments with people like, oh, it's not that expensive to, like, eat healthier and blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's not the point. For me, it's being able to eat at home and make the healthier options at home. You know what I mean? Like, because that's my biggest thing is, like, when I was only working 1 job, I was able to cook at home, eat better. I would go to the store and I could actually pick out my own food. And like, one of my jobs I kind of have I have a little bit more leeway with being able to eat healthier options. But like when you're working like 12 to 16 hours a day, like it's just the last thing on your minds. But so that's one. And then communication. I have a really, really bad habit of not being able to communicate with just like my emotions and stuff like that, especially when I get overly stressed and angry. Like I tend to just like bottle it up until I just fucking snap one day, and I know that's like that's a constant thing for me.
Yeah.
Mostly because like it was drilled into my head for so long, even though like I'm not like it's not anything against my mom or my dad or like any of the adult figures in my life. It's more of like for so long was a good chunk of our friends way back when, not the ones we have now. They're everyone now, like, you know, our core group of friends, like they're really open about letting us vent to them and stuff like that, because you know we're always there for them. But like, it's the whole for me. It was always the whole thing. Like I had to be the soundboard. I was never allowed to have a problem or be able to talk to someone about stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's something that I'm really working on. Like, I've done better, but I know I have a long way to work with it. So, yeah, just kind of be more open.
No worries. I understand what you're saying, buddy. Like,
yeah, because, like, last year was a big step for me with accepting that. Or it was last year or the year before, like, it was a huge step for me. It was like, accepting that, like, I do suffer from depression.
Yeah.
So... that was a huge step for me.
No, I feel you, man. I'm in the same spot here and there.
Yeah.
So, but that's another talk for another day.
Yep.
Let's let's cleanse the slate. You know, all negative things have passed. We are good. We vented about the things we love and hate. Those are things we love and hate. Our New Year's resolutions. So that was a pretty long fucking intro we did. So if you sat through all that, thank you. So much. If not, I've included in the episode notes where you can just skip to listen to the movie reviews. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's for you guys. Yeah. But if you sat through that, thank you. You know, we just came back, so we figured do a good, you know, something you love, something you hate, get all off our chest. We'll do a shorter one next episode.
If we feel like it. It's our podcast.
We'll see. So yeah, jumping into it. Today we are doing movie reviews that are for animated horror films. So we both picked 2 movies to review and to talk about and to suggest to you ghouls and gals to check out this weekend.
And then on our Patreon there will be a 3rd one done by Anna.
And also known as Hannah's Half Hour Power.
Anna's Half Hour Power. You totally called her Hannah.
Did I by accident?
You're like, Hannah.
I might have said her name too quick.
You like super enunciated that H stuff.
Anna.
You're like, Hannah's Half Hour Power. But yeah, Anna's Half Hour Power. She'll also have her own animated horror movie that she'll be going over.
Yeah.
But you can only listen to it through our Patreon.
Yeah, did she say she's doing a movie review?
I think so.
I don't know.
I don't know. I was fairly certain.
I hope we're right.
I mean, she really wanted one of those Tim Burton movies, so I was like, you could do it on yours.
We'll see. I hope we're not promoting the wrong fucking thing.
Yeah, if we are...
I mean, there's only one way to find out. You gotta go to our Patreon and become an $8 tier supporter.
Yeah, then you could email us and be like, you motherfuckers were wrong!
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Anyways, do you just want me to go first, or...?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay.
It's all about you.
Well, you can go first instead.
No, go ahead. Just go.
So, so the movie I decided to do is the same as every movie I choose. It's one that I love that I feel like should have gotten more attention, and that's why we do this. So I decided to do Dead Space Downfall.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which came out in 2008, directed by Chuck Patton, written by Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray, and stars Nick Futterman, Keith Cesara Bianca, and Jim Cummings.
We're actually not using the same laptop for once, so I can't correct you.
Yeah, so listeners, feel free to yell at me.
You said it wrong again, you
motherfucker! It's been a fucking year. Get the shit right.
God damn.
So.
You know what? I think it adds to your charm. Okay.
Thank you. I'm really kind of hoping that picks up. I really do. I really do. From what I'm told, I have a nice deep voice. I'm hoping that really kind of glosses over all the fuck ups I make. The premise is that
there's some person stewing about it, like, you know what? He has a nice voice, but Jesus fucking Christ!
The movie's premise is a prequel to the hit video game chronicling the discovery of the red marker and the first necromorph outbreak. So I'm going to add a little more synopsis to that because if you've never played the Dead Space game or have no knowledge of it, that doesn't give you enough to know about it. Basically, the whole premise is that there is this ship called the Ishimura, who is basically a ship of archaeologists who go to excavate this obelisk-looking device. And it doesn't really have like a name for it that's given it. It's mostly just called the artifact. And when they grab the artifact and bring it on ship, it begins...
It says they're archaeologists.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Oh yeah, no, I get it. But anyways, when they bring the artifact onto the ship, it begins to turn the entire crew on the ship into paranoid, mutated monsters that begin to kill each other. So yeah, that's adds a little more premise to it, but we're gonna get into it, and I'm gonna give you a better idea. So first off, this movie starts off in a very isolated, open universe. The ship's in space. They're on this planet, trying to find this artifact and figure out what's going on this dead planet that's presumed to be dead, even though the planet itself has signs that looks like life has been going on there recently, but from what they could tell, the planet is dead. And they find the artifact to bring it on to the ship, the Ishimura. So, the pros. This movie does have actually solid animation style. It's not exact, but it makes me think of Todd McFarlane's art style from like Spawn or like the Korn music video. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Anyways. That was me trying to sing it too.
I've noticed. I was just like,
I can do the rap.
Freak on a leash.
Yeah.
There you go.
I made that sound like Michael Jackson.
Just go on before you ruin it.
Yeah. So, anyways, the animation makes me think of like old, like Todd McFarlane kind of style of animation. And if you've ever read the Spawn comic books or seen the Spawn comic or cartoon, you know what I'm talking about. Again, it's not exact just like that, but it does remind me of it. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying it's an exact comparison, but anyways, I like the animation. Also, listeners, we probably should have told you, it's like 3 a.m. when we're recording this. So we're a little at the moment.
We don't need to tell them that.
It's fucking there now. You also didn't need to scream West Virginia, so.
West Virginia!
For this movie, it has some excellent gore in it. And it does a good job of like not really doing any cutaway shots because it shows a lot of like dismembered bodies, like slit open necks, just skulls being fractured and torn in half. Like it's very brutal, very gruesome, and again, because I love my gore, I have to make it a pro. It's fucking good gore. It's fantastic. Even when they kill a demented, fucked up baby that turns mutant. Yes, that's a thing. I am also going to go on to say that if you have played the game and you know you've played Dead Space, this is a solid prequel. Like, and that doesn't happen a lot. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, that's true.
Because this movie actually ties into the video game really well. It doesn't do a lot to change anything in the video game's lore drastically. And it's just really solid because usually when you have prequels, they have to change certain things or make kind of like bullshit calls that make sense later on within a franchise. And this doesn't do that. It plays very well within the rules that it sets up for itself. And it's just solid. It's a solid prequel. Also, the movie does not take long to get going with the progression of the plot.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I remember right when I watched this movie when it first came out, like, it just, shit hits the fan in the first, 5 minutes.
Yeah, it happens. They're
like, here's your characters, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, like, I mean, they still set it up with, like, again, going onto the dead planet with the archaeologists and the excavators, grabbing the artifact and bringing up a piece of the rock bringing up a piece of the planet, and they kind of, like, show that, they show, like, what they're doing, but, like, what they do that's really smart is that they let shit hit the fan really quick, like you just said, but they explain more of why they're at that dead planet and why they're getting the artifact as shit is getting crazy.
Yeah.
And it's written well enough to where it gives you enough information, but doesn't bore you. Like, and that's what I like about it, is that it doesn't take long to get going. And the voice acting in this movie is actually really great. Like, it's solid voice acting. I haven't seen too many people say that it was good voice acting. Didn't really give it much recommendation, but I feel like it's good. I like the voice acting in this film. It doesn't feel stale. It doesn't feel out of place at all. It's good. Mm-hmm. And the action sequences in this movie are actually pretty fucking rad too. There's one scene that's probably the most intense scene is so the majority of the movie focuses on the security team run by their captain, Vincent. Well, they call her Vincent, but I call her Vincent too because I think it's just fucking badass. But it focuses on her and her security team going through the ship to save the crew from whatever they think is going on, which is the necromorphs, which is what the people are called when they turn into these alien zombies.
Yeah.
And so they come to the cafeteria that within the Ishimura, and it's just like this mass amount of necromorphs who are killing and eating a lot, all these people, and they all start to attack the security team, and it gets fucking intense. You see part of the security team get killed and the other part surviving, just blasting away at the fucking necromorphs. I don't want to get away what else happens because it is kind of spoilerish, and I want you to see this movie, but I will say there's this badass scene with a fucking chainsaw that you're just gonna have to see for yourself because it gets fucking tight. And it's just
funny, in most of your movies, there's always a chainsaw.
I know what I like. That's why I have Ash from Evil Dead in my arm holding a chainsaw.
Well, I just say, I kind of notice a correlation between, your movies and my movies.
Yeah.
I'll go into more of my movie when I'm doing my review of, what happens when I pick my movies.
Oh, yeah?
Go on.
Look, no,
I usually has chainsaws.
Well, no, but you gotta, again, though, I fully admit, I'm a gorehound, so obviously, chainsaws.
Yeah.
But, no, yeah, but that entire action sequence in the movie is actually intense, and for an animated cartoon horror film, it's fucking good with how intense they make it. It's just an intense scene. And going on with that, as I mentioned, Vincent, who is the leader of the security team, I like her as a protagonist. She makes a lot of sense. She's a common sense character. And she's done her voice is done very well and acted out very well by Nika Futterman, who plays Alyssa Vincent, and she just I just like her character. She's a hard as nails common sense character. Like early on, she tells the captain like basically like we need to ditch the artifact and you need to go let me do my job. Yeah. Like and she stands up to the captain of the ship and she stands up to the rest of the crew who's against her and she's like, I will fucking wreck you. like I swear to God. Like, I will take my gun, put it as a strap on, and fuck your ass right now if you don't let me go do my goddamn job. Like, it's just, like, she's fucking badass. And I fucking love her. She's awesome. And I want to see more heroes like her. I kind of got the feeling like she's just, like, kind of like Ripley, who just kind of finally lost her shit.
Yeah.
But not in, like, Alien Resurrection style.
We don't talk about that movie.
But... as always, I do have some cons. There is some points early on in the film where some of the characters look too much alike. So, like, for example, when the archaeologists are still on the said to be dead planet where they got the artifact, two of them are in their suits talking about the artifact and hinting as to the real reason why they're there. Mm-hmm. And they just, in their suits, both of them look alike. They just both look like the same character. And they're not giving off like they're supposed to be twins because they're not. They're not twins.
Yeah.
But they just look too much alike. And so I made that a little bit of a con because it's kind of just like, I know it's like a trick in animation and whatnot, but
yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like it needed to be a con. Also, because it is such a stereotypical horror movie trope, when the captain is seeing these distress calls that the crew is going insane because it takes about 2 weeks that the Ishimura has finally extracted and has the artifact within their possession, that crew members on top of the Ishimura start to go insane and fight each other and kill each other. And so Alyssa Vincent, the head security, goes up to the captain and says, you need to get rid of this artifact and you need to let me go down there. You need to let me go down and see what's going on with the crew. Mm-hmm. And he basically tells her no and no. Because they were sent on this mission to get the artifact because of the Church of Unitology.
Yeah.
And so, and then they elaborate more as to why within the movie. But it's just, I hate it when that happens, when there's a common sense character who's giving a common sense, like, you need to let me do this, we need to do this, and they just say no. Because I feel like there's such more creative way to go around it. I feel like they could have done something where it's like, the captain could have said, you know what, you're right, we do need to get rid of this artifact. And as they try to get rid of the artifact, that's when shit finally hits the fan.
Yeah.
And, like, something keeps it for where they can't get rid of the artifact. Whether it's, like, the doors are jamming or the systems go down. Like, it just, I don't know. It just felt like it was a real kind of, like, lazy way to get shit thrown at the fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's just me. There's also a point where it does feel like the plot does skip a little bit. Again, because at the beginning of the movie, it just kind of skips to 2 weeks later after they get the artifact.
I hate those things.
Yeah, like, they don't really show the progression of, like, people starting to get paranoid and being affected by the artifact. Because that's the big thing about this, is that the artifact affects the people that it's around.
Yeah.
It turns them to necromorphs eventually. It makes them go insane. And it doesn't really show that. It's just 2 weeks later, people are starting to murder each other. And this is kind of it. And I have to make that a con. Also, the point where they're showing that people are starting to turn each other is that they have a prisoner who killed one of his co-workers, and so they have him in restraints to sedate him and assess his injuries. A few scenes later, though, when the necromorphs start to take over and start to kill the crew, he's just out of his restraints all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. Even though the last scene you see him in, he's in his restraints. Yeah. But he gets out of them by himself, and they don't show how. He's just out of them. And so I made that a con because it's just, he's out of them. They don't ever show someone get him out of there, out of his restraints. Also, although the action scenes in this movie are really rad, some of them do feel like they lag a little bit from scene to scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like, going back to where the scene I talked about, where they're fighting in the cafeteria, there's just some parts where it feels like the animation's moving a little more slow than it needs to.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, if the movement feels a little rigid at some points, it's still fucking rad, but it feels a little slow. Also, because I feel like I do need to make it a con to people who haven't played Dead Space or have no knowledge of it at all, the film does expect you to have some knowledge of the game in order to understand some of the lore to an extent. Now, this isn't like major big stuff, but it is like things that are nice to know, like just like kind of like what unitology is and stuff like that. Like a little bit more background premise. You're supposed to. It expects that you've played the game, but I will say it's not fully needed to enjoy the film. You don't really need to know much about the Dead Space game to enjoy it, but you can tell that there's points where it expects that you already know. And I feel like that needs to be a little bit of a con. Also, from what I could tell, and maybe it did happen, but there was a point where the security team sees that dead people are coming back to life.
Yeah.
And so in the main deck of the ship, there's a prominent character who does get killed off, and then they just kind of like leave his body there. And so I'm like, why didn't the security team ever tell everyone on the main deck that the dead are coming back to life?
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like that would be, kind of something worth mentioning. But hey, it's whatever. I guess the excuse can be made that they were caught in the moment and didn't really think to do that. But again, you're the security team. Do your fucking job. I don't know. That's a con. Two WTF things I have is so. The two, when I was talking about some of the characters looking too much alike, those are a couple of excavators, and as the excavators are going to check out this disturbance on a ship that was supposed to bring back the artifact, or did bring back the artifact, they are going to the ship, and you see both men at the front console flying the ship, and one of the guys is like drawn like he's supposed to be of Hispanic origin. The other one is drawn as supposed to be Irish origin. So he's white skin, red hair. Mm-hmm. And then scene pans to his co-pilot and back to him, back to the guy with the white skin and red hair. But instead this time he has brown skin and black hair. So, and this happens a couple times more throughout the following scenes, where he just changes ethnicities on the fly. It happens really quick, but it's subtle, but it does happen, and I just like, that's kind of a what the fuck moment. I mean, that's really it for my WTF, my cons, and my pros. So, and I know it sounds like my cons are a little bit more heavy than my pros, but keep in mind, like, this is actually a solid animated horror flick. Like, it's got blood, it's got guts, it's got this perfect feeling of isolation in space, and it's really just eerie. It's not jump out of your seat terrifying, but it is fucking eerie, and it is creepy, and it's worth your time. It's worth your attention. On Amazon Prime, it's like $2 to rent it right now. Do yourself a favor. Check it out. It's a good movie. They did come out with a sequel to it. I will argue that the sequel is not as good as the first one. But please, check out Dead Space Downfall. It's worth your time. Even if you haven't played the game, still check it out. I do only have one trivia fact for the film. So, yeah, the only fact that I have is the blonde is about the blonde survivor. So, the fact is, the blonde survivor that Alyssa asks whether or not she has a boyfriend is Nicole, which is Isaac Clarke's girlfriend from the Dead Space video game, which takes place after Downfall. So, I mean, nice little fact for y'all. But that's my movie, Dead Space Downfall. Check it out.
Nice. I feel like I want to kind of watch that again. See, I'd like to go and watch that again, but it's going to make me want to play the game, and I have no way of playing the game anymore.
How come?
I don't have it.
Oh, I can have it. I can let you borrow it.
But on 360?
Oh, no, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
See, Dead Space is like one of those where like everyone kind of loves, and like I really wish they'd come out with a remaster of the trilogy.
I doubt it's gonna happen.
Oh, I know, but it's like one of those things where it's like, we're all about the remasters right now, and I feel like that's a good trilogy that they could remaster.
Yeah.
Like, if EA would remaster it, they'd probably build a little bit better faith in them and stuff like that. And honestly, it doesn't need much touch-up.
No.
Like, the graphics are still pretty good, but...
They should also come out with a fourth entry.
And that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no. But, I just like, because the animation's also really crisp.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice.
Sorry, I thought I had a burp.
You're cool.
I did. Okay, so... my movie, I did Seoul Station, which, fun fact, if you guys remember, I did Train to Busan, and this is actually the animated prequel to that movie. We both did prequels.
Oh yeah, go figure. I didn't think about that.
Which I'm gonna say again, if you haven't seen Train to Busan, it's on Netflix. It's fantastic, man. You guys, if you love zombie movies and stuff, it's fantastic. I mean, it's more than just a zombie movie. Like, it's good. And same with Seoul Station. Like, so synopsis is: several groups of people try to survive a zombie pandemic that unleashes itself in downtown Seoul. It's directed by Sang Ho Young, written by Sang Ho Young. Stars Xiang Ring Yu. I hope I'm saying these right. Francisca Friede and June Lee. And yeah, this is a really, really good movie. And so
it's also like surprisingly dark too.
That's actually what I was gonna go, but like I noticed the things with my I noticed a correlation with my movies. So you have chainsaws like seems to pop up in your movies all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Mine are always like, they're just emotionally taxing, man. Like, oh my god, I was like thinking about all my reviews and stuff like that, the movies I did. You hate yourself. Like through the whole movie, like you like have this small glimmer of hope, but like, because I've always said, I actually like a horror movie better when it doesn't have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Fuck, I never realized because I was thinking about it, like quite a bit of my movies had just the saddest endings. Or just like throughout the whole movie, you hate yourself. Like 30 Days a Night, like you're just dread the entire time. Train to Busan, like dread the entire time. You had this small hope and then it just shits all over at some point.
Thinking about that's pretty true because like early on, you also did The Awakening. No, I did The Awakening.
You did The Awakening.
But you did The Void, which is still...
Well, we both kind of did them both. And then I also did Grave Encounters. Just hate yourself the entire time. Yeah. And also I noticed another thing about the movies. Oh my god, and then
even with our snuff episode.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude. Like, yeah, Antichrist, you just hate yourself. You're like watching, you can't stop watching it, but you're just hating yourself.
Cody, stop self-projecting on your movie
apparently,
choices.
Man, like, I was just thinking about it. I was like, fuck, dude, like, Jesus. Anyway, yeah, Suspiria also, which I still need to see the remake. I totally forgot that came out this year.
Did it already?
Or last year? Yeah.
I thought it still hasn't come out yet.
No, it came out last year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No. Shit.
No, I still need to see it. But anyways, so yeah, this was a really good movie. I'm trying to I've been trying to rework how I do my movie reviews because I tend to just throw out spoilers without thinking about it. So one thing the animation for this movie, it's odd, I'm going to say. Because it kind of looks like CG'd but hand-drawn at the same time. So I feel like they might have hand-drawn and did CG over it. And I'll say one of the pros is that it's really good and it's fluid. But one of my cons about it is sometimes it kind of takes you out of it. But at the same there are a couple scenes with just some of the characters when too much is going on, it kind of takes you out of the movie.
Yeah.
I felt and then but one of my biggest pros about it is the zombies looked fucking nuts in this movie, a lot better than Train to Busan in my opinion.
Yeah, I watched it too, and that's something I told you is that I also because it felt like they put more detail into what the zombies look like in this movie compared to Train to Busan.
Yeah, and it was just really good. And so how I was doing this is some of my cons and even a couple of my pros, like there might be like I might have just missed something because it's a foreign movie. There's subtitles, so you gotta, it's like the whole aspect of like looking down to read and look up at the same time unless you speak Korean. But so like, I'm just gonna start off with two of my WTFs. My first WTF is also kind of it's a con, but like, so it starts off in the very beginning where like, you see this old guy, he's bleeding out his neck, and he's holding it, and you can see like he's bleeding, and these two guys see him, and he's like, hey, do you need help? And then like he walks over, and like he can see that he's bleeding, but all of a sudden he's like repulsed by his smell, and he walks over to his friend, and he's like, I thought he needed help. I was gonna help him out, but it's just like, you see that he needs help. He's bleeding, man. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
But then, like, everyone else who looks at him, because you see the blood down his shirt, like, or out the side of his neck and stuff like that, and a bunch of people look at him, but no one notices until his brother gets really close up to him and goes, what's wrong? What's wrong? Like, why are you breathing and laying down like that? And then he realizes that he's bleeding. But so then you get introduced, right after that, you get introduced to Hey Son, and she is the only character that, like, you really like throughout the whole movie. Like, all the main characters, you fucking hate. Her and her dad.
Yeah.
Like, they're the only two characters that you actually like throughout this whole movie. Like, so you find out her boyfriend is trying to pimp her out to pay the rent. Because, mini spoiler, but it's not spoiling too much, because there's something off about her, is that she used to be a prostitute, because she brings it up. And he even brings it up that he saved her from being homeless and being a prostitute and stuff like that. And so she needs to start sleeping around so they can pay rent. And also so he can play video games at the local like internet cafe, which a little bit of Asian culture, like internet cafes are huge for like PC gamers and stuff like that.
Yeah, in Korea it's like pretty big.
Yeah, so like that's the big thing. So that was like those were both my two real big WTF moments from this movie. The one of my cons also, it's more of just like the difference between Train to Busan and this one is that the zombie virus in this one takes a lot longer to infect a survivor. Like in Train to Busan, like one girl gets bit on the leg, and within like that she was turning into a zombie. It was the girl who was the cheerleader. Like she got bit once and then almost instantly turned into a zombie. But in this one, like it took a while. Like you could tell it was kind of dragging out the time for it.
Well, like I guess one thing I can't remember is did they ever mention like the infection spreads differently depending where they get bit?
No,
because I felt like did they even talk about it in Train to Busan?
Nope.
Okay. Not
at all.
I don't know. I guess.
So like in Train to Busan, someone died by getting bit, and they turned almost instantly.
Right.
By getting bit through the neck. Right. In this movie, you see a policeman get bit through the neck, and he laid there for like a while in movie terms. Like like when they're in the police station, one of the police officers gets bit in the neck and dies, and he's laying in the middle of the place.
Got it.
And then all of a sudden, and it took him a while to turn. Yeah. Like, the fastest turn is at the very end, which I'm not gonna spoil.
No, I feel
because that ending, man.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, because it feels like the way they turn is kind of like Ex Machina-esque.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this guy will turn slowly because we need him to turn slowly for this scene.
Yeah. And so, so this is my biggest con with every single zombie movie. So this takes place in, I would say modern day-esque, maybe a little bit in the future. I forget what the timeline actually is.
You can say modern day.
Yeah, but modern day. But like, has no one ever seen a zombie movie in these movies? Like,
right?
Ever? Do zombies just not exist? Because you see a bunch of people like start seeing the things. I think this was also one of my cons in Train to Busan. Is like, has no one ever heard of a zombie movie?
Right.
Or seen one, especially like the teenagers and stuff like that, because like. Teenagers everywhere, even whether you're into horror or not, like you know what a zombie is, and like everyone just like, what are they? Like they blame the homeless in this movie, saying it's just enraged homeless people.
Yeah,
and like that's actually one of the funniest moments is like there's this cop and he's just like he rings up backup and he's like, the homeless are on a rampage, and there's this homeless guy in the cell with him and he's just like, they've been beating the shit out of us too. Don't blame me. Like, but yeah, so like that's one of my biggest cons. But other than that, like I enjoyed this movie through and through. It had a really good pace, really good storytelling and character building. Like you kind of start feeling for the boyfriend, but like honestly, like I hated that dude from the get go when I learned he was pimping out his girlfriend. Yeah. Or pimping out Hey Son. Because like she even tells him, like he takes a picture of her while she's asleep and then starts pimping her out over the internet cafe, and she's like, I told you I'm not doing that anymore. And instead of just being like, you know what, I'm sorry, we'll find another way out, he like scolds and the shit out of her.
He holds it over her head. He's like, in case you forgot, I'm the one that got you off the streets.
Yeah, he's like, so it's like, and then like you start, and then you're kind of meant to like kind of feel for him through the movie, but the entire time he's being treated like shit by her like dad and getting the shit kicked out of him. You're like, yeah, fuck you.
Well, I'm wondering if there's like, for some things that happen in this movie, it's just the cultural difference. Because like
it could be.
Because I hear because like that obviously makes sense that you should be pissed off about that. But I'm wondering like, because we just don't know if the homeless are treated differently in South Korea.
Well, I'm not talking about the homeless. I'm just saying how he treats her.
Well, no, and I'm just making that, but that's just an example.
But
like maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just because I was wondering the same thing. Because I'm like, why aren't more people concerned? Mm-hmm. You know.
And then like one of my other cons is like it's with every horror movie, but like the common sense things, man. Like there's a scene where like Hey Son and this other and one of the other characters that you meet, they're in an ambulance, and so right before they get in the ambulance, she calls her boyfriend and her dad to let her know where she is. She says, we're heading to the hospital, meet us at the ER, and then you find out that everyone who got bit is going to the ER, and she doesn't call them to let them know, like, hey, don't go there. Yeah. Like, she just lets them go. Like, I understand, like, she's probably, like, a little, like, sporadic of what happens, but, like...
Well, didn't they also say that they were having trouble with signal, too, throughout the movie?
Well, no, she could have called them before... The whole reason why they couldn't get a hold of her after that point is because she was in the subways. Okay. So she was underground, but she couldn't call before she went underground, like, hey, I'm not going to be there, don't go there. Like, that was one thing that bugged me. And then another one was in that same scene, like, the other character, like, grabs the wheel of the ambulance, like, the steering wheel and stuff like that. Yeah. And, like, I always think about this, like, why doesn't the driver ever hit the brakes? They always speed up.
No, I feel you. Like, there's a similar scene in, like, not the same movie, but related, in Bird Box. Yeah. Like, in the beginning, where, like the car that Sandra Bullock's in, like, they start to drive crazy. Mm-hmm. And so she grabs the steering wheel, and I'm like, why can't you just pull the emergency brake or something? Yeah. And to be fair, the type of car they have, I don't know if it's the type of emergency brake where it's, like, under the driver's seat.
You know, it's just one of those things, like, in movies where, like, you know, the person in the backseat is like, no! And they grab the steering wheel and, like, it goes for a little bit. It's like, why don't you ever slam the brakes or, like, let off the gas? They always throttle it and shit like that, and then they get in this horrible accident. But yeah, and so I had a really bad Heartless moment in this movie. So there's this scene where they get to this barricade. I'm not going to explain what the barricade is and stuff like that because that's huge spoilers. But they get to this barricade where there's other survivors. And there's these, like, dudes, like, beating the shit out of zombies over the barricade, like, you know, so they can't get over and stuff. And one of them gets bit. And I knew it was going to happen just because, you know, like, one of them's going to get bit. And I was just like, okay, so they know, so those dudes know what's going to happen. Why didn't they just throw his body over, like, as a distraction so the zombies could start eating it and stuff like that? Instead, you know, they let him fall into the camp and turn and start killing everyone. Like, I was just like... I had a Heartless moment. I was like, the dude got bit, just fucking throw his ass to the zombies, like, at that moment. And then, but other than that, like, you feel for Hey Son, like, throughout this whole movie. Like, if anything, like, don't get, like, I know it kind of sounds like I did a lot more cons than pros. It was mostly just because, like, those are just a couple of things that stood out to me. But, like, the movie's great. Like, I recommend, like, watching this. If you have Shudder, it's free on there. And you should watch this movie, especially the end, man. Holy shit. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, that was...
I'm not even going to do a spoiler review about it, because you just need to see it.
It was a solid ending, because it for a zombie film, it makes sense.
It still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, mostly because of, like, I think it's a cultural thing also. Right. Of, like... I can't even say exactly like what, give little hints about it, but like, okay, you need to see it because the ending just it fucks with you bad. Like it takes a huge 180 and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then at the very, very end, like, again, this doesn't have a happy ending. Like, you feel a little retribution, but at the same time, you still hate yourself at the end because you're just like, oh, man, so you guys have to kind of be an emotional masochist. Yeah. Like, you just got to take it. But it's such a good movie. Like, I really recommend it. The animation is fantastic. Like, I like how it is because it's like a good blend of, like, hand-drawn / CG. I mean, it might be all CG, computer animated, but I don't know. I definitely think that, like, a good chunk of it was also hand-drawn. And I will say, like, but because of it, I think it lacked in blood. I definitely think it could have used a little bit more blood with things.
I would agree with that. And if I was going to add a con to yours, I would say that I wasn't a big fan of the animation, but that's just me.
Yeah, but I definitely say give it a watch, especially if you like Train to Busan. I wouldn't even say this is really a prequel because, like, I've been told, like, this is a prequel and it's going to show Patient Zero and stuff like that. It doesn't. Like, you think it does, but there's actually an incident before this that happens that you don't know about because it doesn't explain, like, how the old guy was bit in the beginning. But yeah, I highly recommend this. Give it a watch, especially if you like Train to Busan. It's a fantastic prequel. The animation's pretty cool. It does kind of take you out of it a little bit, and I know the subtitles kind of throw some people off, but honestly, you can power through it. And,
or unless you know Korean.
Yeah, and then also, like, there's, like, actually one person who has common sense throughout the whole movie, and it's almost, like, same thing like you were saying, like, it's almost frustrating that there's only one.
Yeah.
Like, there's ever only one person that has common sense of how to do things. So, like, but it's good. So, I highly recommend it. And, yeah, I guess I'll do a couple quick trivia facts. This is actually makes sense. The events in Seoul Station take place one day before the events in the live-action sequel Train to Busan.
So, like, literally a prequel by, like...
a day.
By, like, a hair.
Man, that actually makes sense of why, like, in Train to Busan, right when they get on the train, like, you just see that dude just get bit. Yeah. Like, in Train to Busan, like, he just gets ravaged by a zombie out of nowhere. Because at the end of this, like, they're just fucking going everywhere.
Oh my god, sorry, I'm just gonna say this really quick because this is the dumbest thing that this is true fact. Seoul Station is the prequel to Train to Busan. Literally, no shit.
Yeah. And the director, Train to Busan, Sang Ho Hyun, also directed this. Which, funny enough, was that Train to Busan was his very first live-action film. So I think that's kind of cool. I'm pretty sure we said that before, and that was trivia's. And this was actually released less than a month after it, and it actually won an award too. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, so that's my movie, Seoul Station. You should watch it.
Well, there you go. Do it now. Do it now. So yeah, there's our movie reviews. It's for us. That kind of does it for this episode. I don't think we got anything else that we need to touch on. Welcome back, everyone. Again, let's start this year off right. Let's see. We have a lot of great plans. I think the next one we're doing. Do we want to talk about the next episode that we're going to be doing? The next theme?
Leave you in suspense.
Ooh. You're just going to have to stay subscribed and following to us, and the best way to do that is to follow us on Facebook at Official Punk Horror Podcast, or you can just search us up, Punk Rock Horror Podcast, or our Twitter at Official PRHP, or on our Instagram.
Or on Instagram at Punk Rock Horror Podcast, hashtag PRHP Podcast.
If you want to support the show and get, the first-hand dibs on merch and all these other cool rewards, please go
and also to tune into Anna's first show.
Anna's first show called Anna's Half Hour Power. If you want some more extra content to sink your fangs into, go ahead and make sure you go to our Patreon.
I tell you when to say fingers so bad. We're like, fings.
I know, I did that fucking weird. I was like, God, I hope no one catches that.
And I pointed it out.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna roll with it. Anyways, but if you wanna check out that show, if you wanna see what all the hype is about, make sure you go over to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/punkrockhorrorpodcast. The link to that is in the episode notes below. And if you want to send us your strange stories to read on our Monday episodes, please send them to our email, punkrockhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our website, www.punkrockhorrorpodcast.com. And with that being said, thank you again, ghouls and gals, for tuning in. And we will see you next episode. Podcast over.
Podcast over.
Bye.
Bye.